Have you ever looked at someone else's success and quietly wondered if you were already too late? Maybe someone younger than you bought their dream home while you're still struggling to pay your bills. Maybe another creator started a YouTube channel after you but already has millions of subscribers. Every day, social media shows us people who seem happier, richer, smarter, and more successful than we are. Slowly, without realizing it, we stop appreciating our own progress because we become obsessed with measuring our lives against everyone else's. But what if the biggest thing holding you back isn't your lack of talent, luck, or opportunity? What if it's simply that you keep abandoning your own path every time someone else's looks more exciting? Today, I want to tell you the story of a young fox named Finn whose life changed forever the day he stopped chasing everyone else's dreams and finally discovered his own. Deep inside a peaceful forest surrounded by tall mountains and sparkling rivers lived a clever young fox named Finn. He wasn't the fastest animal, nor the strongest, nor the smartest, but he had a kind heart and endless curiosity. More than anything in the world, Finn wanted to become someone the entire forest respected. Every morning he woke up with hope, believing that today he would finally discover the secret to success. One sunny morning, he watched a group of rabbits racing through the fields faster than the wind itself. Every animal stopped to admire their incredible speed. Finn smiled and whispered to himself, "So, this is the secret. If I become the fastest, everyone will respect me too." From that day onward, he spent hours running across hills, jumping over fallen trees, and pushing himself until his legs ached. Just when he finally began getting faster, something else caught his attention. Near the river, a family of beavers had built the strongest dam the forest had ever seen. Animals gathered around, praising their intelligence and hard work. Finn immediately forgot about running. No, he thought, speed isn't what makes someone successful. Building something important does. The very next morning, he abandoned his running practice and started collecting branches, stones, and mud. For weeks, he struggled to build tiny walls beside the river. But before he could become good at it, he looked toward the mountains and saw a magnificent eagle soaring effortlessly above the clouds. Every animal looked up in admiration. "Look how free he is," they said. Finn sighed deeply. Flying must be the real secret to greatness. He spent days collecting feathers, tying branches together, and creating strange wooden wings. One afternoon, he climbed onto a high rock, spread his homemade wings, and jumped. For one glorious second, he believed he was flying. Then gravity reminded him who he really was. He crashed into a pile of bushes while birds burst into laughter from the nearby trees. Embarrassed and covered in leaves, Finn quietly walked home. Days became weeks, and weeks slowly turned into months. Every time another animal received praise, Finn abandoned whatever he was learning and chased something new instead. When the squirrels were admired for storing food, he filled dozens of holes with nuts before giving up. When the deer were praised for their graceful jumps, he practiced leaping until he twisted his ankle. When the owls were respected for their wisdom, he spent nights staying awake even though he could barely keep his eyes open. With every failed attempt, Finn felt smaller inside. He stopped believing he had anything special to offer. One rainy evening, he sat alone beside a quiet lake, staring at his reflection. The water rippled gently as he whispered, "Why can't I be like everyone else?" Just then, an old tortoise slowly approached and sat beside him without saying a word. They watched the rain together for several minutes before the tortoise finally smiled and asked, "Why are you carrying so much sadness?" Finn let out a long sigh. "I've tried everything. I've tried running, building, flying, jumping, climbing, learning, but no matter what I do, someone else is always better." The old tortoise nodded thoughtfully before asking a question so simple that it caught Finn completely off guard. "Tell me, Finn, Have you ever stayed with one dream long enough to discover how good you could become? Finn opened his mouth to answer, but no words came out. For the first time, he realized something painful. He had started many journeys, but he had never finished any of them. That night, he couldn't sleep. The tortoise's question echoed through his mind again and again. The next morning, instead of looking around to see what everyone else was doing, Finn walked alone through the forest. As he wandered, something unexpected happened. A family of frightened hedgehogs had lost their way. Without thinking, Finn led them through hidden paths he had discovered years earlier while exploring the forest for fun. By sunset, they arrived home safely. A few days later, a young deer became trapped between rocky cliffs. Once again, Finn remembered an old trail that no one else knew existed. He carefully guided the deer back to safety. Then, an injured rabbit needed help crossing a flooded stream. Finn knew exactly where fallen logs created a safe crossing. Gradually, he realized something incredible. Ever since he was little, he had loved exploring. While other animals practiced one skill, Finn had wandered every corner of the forest simply because he enjoyed discovering new places. Without realizing it, he had memorized hidden paths, secret caves, safe river crossings, and forgotten trails that no one else even knew existed. For the first time in years, Finn stopped comparing himself to others. Instead, he devoted every day to becoming the greatest forest guide anyone had ever known. He explored even farther, marking dangerous cliffs, finding new shortcuts, learning where storms usually flooded the valleys, and remembering every safe shelter hidden beneath ancient trees. Seasons passed peacefully until one summer afternoon everything changed. Dark smoke suddenly filled the sky. A massive wildfire spread across the mountains, swallowing trees with terrifying speed. Animals ran in every direction, frightened and confused. The rabbits were fast, but they didn't know where to run. The eagle could see the flames from above but couldn't safely guide families through the smoke. The beavers stayed close to the river, unable to help those trapped on higher ground. Panic spread through the forest. Then someone shouted, "Find Finn!" Within minutes, dozens of frightened animals gathered around him. Finn looked at the fire, took a deep breath, and remained calm. "Stay together," he said. "Follow me." Through thick smoke, burning branches, and falling trees, Finn led every family along forgotten trails hidden beneath the forest floor. He remembered every shortcut, every cave, every stream, and every safe valley. More than once, burning trees blocked their path, but Finn always found another way. After hours of walking, they finally reached a wide green meadow, untouched by the flames. Every animal stood silently, looking back at the burning forest with tears in their eyes. Then, one by one, they turned toward Finn. No one praised him because he was the fastest. No one admired him because he looked beautiful. No one celebrated him because he could fly. They thanked him because when everyone else was lost, Finn knew exactly where to go. That evening, as the sun slowly disappeared behind the mountains, the old tortoise found Finn sitting beneath the same tree where they had first spoken months before. The tortoise smiled gently. "Do you finally understand?" Finn nodded with quiet tears in his eyes. "All these years, I thought success meant becoming someone else. But if I had become the fastest rabbit, the strongest beaver, or the greatest eagle, none of these animals would be alive today. They didn't need another rabbit. They didn't need another eagle. They only needed the best version of me." The old tortoise looked toward the forest and softly replied, "Every tree grows beneath the same sun and drinks the same rain, yet no two trees grow at the same speed. The tallest tree never laughs at the smallest because nature understands something people often forget. Everyone has their own season. Years later, young animals traveled from distant forests just to ask Finn the secret of success. He always smiled before giving the same answer. Stop asking why someone else is ahead of you. Instead, ask yourself one question every single day: what can I become better at today? Because the greatest victories are never won by those who constantly change direction. They belong to those who stay true to who they are, even when the world tells them to become someone else. And perhaps that's the lesson many of us need to hear today. Every time you compare your life to someone else's highlight reel, you quietly steal joy from your own journey. Every time you abandon your dream to chase another person's success, you move farther away from the life only you were meant to live. The world doesn't need another copy of someone who already exists. It needs the person that only you can become. So stop counting someone else's victories and start building your own. Because success isn't about reaching someone else's destination, it's about becoming the person you were always meant to be.